Welcome back to Show Talk, where we're going to be talking about a white rabbit. Wait, what? But this is a Turtles podcast. What is that about? Well, let's get into Shades of Green.
Welcome to the Dingus Den.
All right. Well, welcome to today's episode of Shell Talk, where we're taking a little bit of a detour of sorts, you could say, where we're actually not talking about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, but it is one that they definitely appear in. Spoiler alert, or else we won't be talking about it on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles podcast, right? So here we are to talk about Usagi Yojimbo. We're the first three issues of actually Volume 2. So meaning these weren't the very first ever Usagi Yojimbo comics, but it's the second ones that actually Mirage published. A little bit of background as far as like, well, why exactly are they involved here? Stan Sakai, who is the creator of Usagi Yojimbo, he actually met Kevin and Peter, the TMNT creators, at fan conventions, as back then at Comic-Cons and whatnot. They would be put into like the same anthropomorphic animal section near the restrooms, they were saying. And so they became good friends there as they got to meet each other there at the fan conventions, and got to a point where they're like, you know what, let's do a special crossover. So that's what we have here. Now, before we actually delve into the issue, something that we read in our really nice collection that you can go out and buy digitally or physically, however you like to read them. It includes like a really nice little like background on them, like what exactly is Usagi as the first volume of stuff, set up some stuff, and we kind of got like a nice little like recap with like some nice sort of pictures. And so just to set the stage of what exactly is Usagi Yojimbo that it covers, I want to go over what that says. As it's set during the age of civil wars in the 16th century Japan, in the Battle of Adachigahara. Miyamoto Usagi, he lost his lord Mifune during that battle. Finally, we see that Shogun arose, and Usagi is then unemployed, so he's trying to hone his spiritual and martial skills, his own self journey. And so on his journey, he makes all these different friends and foes, and he continues to just wander the nation alone, searching for harmony. Something else we got a thing exactly showing who a bunch of these characters are, which helps. Especially, I think, for me, it helped particularly with the sidekick character that we meet actually at the beginning of issue 1. Before we delve into it, is there anything you want to say about Usagi or anything?
No, let's get right into it.
Let's get right into why exactly we're talking about a bunny on a Turtles show.
On a Turtles show, yeah. I think that's
so
what
anyway,
people want to know.
Exactly. So in issue 1, we see Miyamoto Usagi, main character there. He's with Murakami Genosuke. We just call him Jin for short.
I call him Rhino Dude.
Right.
Rhino Dude.
I mean, he has a cool little sidekick,
Yeah.
Not quite little, but you know what I mean.
He's not little at all, yeah.
No, but he was I liked him though. But anyway, they find themselves surrounded by ninjas on the edge of a mountain, and we get action right off the bat as they knock off lots of those ninjas that are coming to them from the sides
that look like cats.
That's the important thing, is it's a world full of anthropomorphic animals, and so yes, but good point there. But yeah, anyway, archer ninja cats, I guess you could say. That's they start shooting at them, and so then they are forced to jump off the mountain into the water below after getting down to safety downstream. We learn that the ninjas are from the Nico clan. And we see that the main. Anyway, the characters there, they start an argument. We're like, well, hold on, like, why'd you get us involved in this mess that Usagi and Jin starts arguing with each other about? And then all of a sudden, like, there's this dude that comes in, this rat dude, that comes in with a stick and beats them up and offers them a supper back at his place, thinking, "Oh, I was expecting you all to do better." Although, I guess to be fair, you just fought a bunch of ninjas, are a little exhausted, and having to swim a little bit too. Anyway, he then reveals his name is Kakera.
Splinter? Oh
no,
wait,
not. No. I know. I'm gonna guess we both thought the same thing.
Yeah, we did.
Like,
we both exactly thought the same thing.
Is this Splinter? But no, we very quickly learned though it is not Splinter. It is Kakera. And after they eat, Kakera then reveals that the ninjas are after him. Why exactly are the ninjas after Kakera? Who knows? Anyway, we get cut to the characters Chizu and Gunji as they're arguing about how the Nico clan should be led. And they are then interrupted by these Komori spies, which are kind of interesting. But anyway, the spies try to fly off, but they get brought down. And the Nico clan promises that war is coming. Anyway, back to the village. We see Kakera. He's waiting for the others as he's trying to explain, like, well, why is he exactly special for this situation? Why are they going after him, right? And so he's about to explain it. But a basket is then brought in, and that's what makes Kakera believe, like, wait a moment, all the other people I called upon didn't make it. The ninjas defeated them. And so Kakera says they need more help, so they must get ninja, is said there. And so he asks his helper person there to, like, hey, go get me 4 turtles. So cut forward in time, we see 4 normal turtles gathered. Kakera then starts doing this ritual, and then that's where they turn into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, thus ending the first part here.
Wow. What makes me wonder is, like, so they were teleported here through these turtles, essentially, and so what happened, like, to the turtles? Did those turtles get teleported to the other world?
Did they turn into normal turtles for a little bit?
Yeah, yep, and just sit there in the real other world. Just, I can't say real world because it's the real world to them. Just so it's like, is it a body swap? Is it a mind? Like, what kind of swap is this? I don't understand.
We don't know, and they don't really say that either. A lot of crossovers just kind of leave it very general. They
do, especially back then.
Well, especially they do it for a reason to not make one universe seem superior to another and just embrace that it's a crossover. And so that was a big thing when Marvel and DC did their crossovers. They never explicitly said how they were just naturally in the same world, so they didn't make one world seem to be better than the other.
Welcome to Understanding Comics 101 with Professor Dingus.
So anyway, but yeah, it's definitely interesting though, as for the most part of this story, it's its own Usagi story, black and white, very much like how we were just reading the Turtles, like the Toidles. I was reading something before this though, that in the like introduction stuff beforehand, that supposedly but these stories were actually colored, but they like lost certain things to it, so they could only do it colored or black and white for these reprintings, which is interesting. I don't know if it applies to this volume or the later volumes or how exactly that works, but like there something was said there, and they were like, okay, yeah, we at least got to put out these stories at least in black and white so people can experience them. Yeah. So that was interesting. If anybody knows more, please do let us know more. But it's just an interesting thing, is this is really the only modern way to read Usagi, unless you track down older issues where that can be a pain and also very expensive. So, but yeah, as far as I would assume it's both of our introductions to actually the character of Usagi. It's a character I've known of, but I don't think I ever actually have read him in or watched him in any medium before. Have you?
No. I've seen him. What, the video game?
Yeah,
he's seen him in video games. Shredder's Revenge is where I first was introduced to him.
A big, and so that's a big.
You're like, it's a ninja bunny. What the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, ninja bunny. That's cool. I do know that they made a couple appearances like elsewhere and some other things later on as
Okay.
well.
Maybe in newer
I
cartoons
do
and stuff.
I do think there's at least 1 or 2 episodes of cartoons he's involved in. I'd have to look that up exactly, but there's interesting stuff with him.
Yeah. Sure.
But as far as just since we're talking about Usagi, though, I want to take a little sidestep and actually talk about Usagi for a moment here, right? As we get into this world, a full-on feudal Japan world, and I thought it was a really cool setting, seeing it all full of the anthropomorphic animal creatures. I like that they fully embrace that idea and not just one of those stories where it's like, yeah, only the main character is anthropomorphic. No, everybody is, and so I really like that sort of world that we get right off the bat. We get evil, the Nico clan right off the bat, their version of the Foot clan, I guess. Who knows? But yeah, ultimately, though, this first issue was just a big setup. And it's definitely a good setup. It definitely made me want to read more. These issues are quick too. They're actually each 20 pages long, and we're quick to read. And so, I don't know. It was a good setup issue, I think, though.
Yeah, it definitely to me jumped out as a heavy inspiration for the third movie from the 90s. They obviously changed a lot, obviously, because anthropomorphic animals. Instead of a character that looks like Splinter, there's a character that looks like Casey Jones. It's supposed to look like Casey Jones, same actor, I believe, in feudal Japan, and April goes with them too. But not gonna spoil much more of the movie because you haven't.
Well, we'll have to record those sooner than later. Check them out once we
definitely.
But
definitely heavy inspiration I see from this, which is interesting. That it's a crossover that they pulled. Because then there were other issues that I saw inspiration from as well earlier in the our Shell Talk, one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah, interesting, very cool. Yeah, I thought it was a good setup, but now we have the turtles there. So let's get into what exactly is up with the turtles here. Now that they're in this, back in time, right? So, sort of, yeah, sort of is a good way to say that. Back in time in another world, I guess. Anyway, we begin with seeing ninjas in that village and spying on them, and the turtles are trying to figure out where exactly they are. Raph, we see him exclaiming that it's one of the Foot Clan's tricks. But Leonardo here recognizes Usagi. And at this point when I was reading, I was like, wait a moment, Leonardo's met Usagi before. And I was like, what? Because I thought this was like the first main thing.
I was confused by it too.
And so I paused it and I was like, okay, let me look into this. And what I found out is he said that he met him a few times before, which is exactly what happened. They met before in 3 different short stories before. First one was called Turtle Soup and Rabbit Stew. Then the second one was called The Crossing. And then the third one was called The Treaty. Now, the reason why we're not covering them is because they are pretty much impossible to actually find and read.
They're lost.
They were actually reprinted in a collection with this story arc that we're talking about and another story that I don't remember the name of back in 2018, which seems fairly recent, right? However, it must be a licensing thing because that was a thing done by Dark Horse, where Dark Horse owns the rights to Usagi, and they teamed up with IDW because IDW would have they've had the turtle rights for a long time, but anyway, they reprinted that story in 2018, and you go try to find it. There's no listings of it available on Amazon. The one listing of it is like $600+ through that, and so. Yeah, the point is, though, is like, unless you're paying an exorbitant amount of money for either the original story or that trade, there's no good way to read that story.
Time to scour flea markets and yard sales,
Yeah, but then good luck finding that. Because, like, you're having to find the original short story versions of them there.
Oof.
And so, that's one of those things when I saw it, I was like, well, we'll just have to keep an eye out to see.
AI, let's have AI rewrite it.
Oh, God. We'll see if they ever... make it available again but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that would be a good reprint.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Reprint that shit.
But anyway, though, there is another little detail, though, of actually that was not the first ever crossover with TMNT and Usagi, though. And during my research, I learned that we actually saw Usagi in one of the issues that we have already covered. Probably about a few episodes ago, we covered the Donatello microseries one-shot.
Yeah.
And in his room, there was a poster of Usagi in there, which is the first ever time they crossed over.
That's
so some interesting information
I remember
there.
That now.
Yeah. The first ever time that they did the thing, and that was, like I said, that just goes back to their friendship of they met each other in cons, and you're like, we could put your character in our comic here as a fun little thing. They did the short stories, and then this was their first big team up, and so. But anyway, back to the story after that side roads there. Leonardo recognized Usagi after, all that. The turtles then learn of the situation with the Nico clan. Kakara says that needs to be more reinforcements, and saying, well, maybe we should use frogs next. Which is funny. And even though I know it's frogs and not toads, I was like, it would have been hilarious to bring in, like, battle toads,
yeah.
Because the moment you think of anthropomorphic, like, frog, like, things, toads are close enough. I just immediately went there. I was like, that would be hilarious.
What Steve would want.
Need some hamsters there.
Yep.
But anyway,
I also do like that the turtles weren't raddest. They didn't be like, "Oh my God, it's Splinter." They recognized it was a different rat. That's
did.
Nice of them.
Well, part of it could have been too the coloring. Like, he could have been a different shade that we didn't know either. It
could be a gray rat rather than a brown rat.
Yeah, we don't know. What coloring is, okay? I mean, that's kind of one of the cool things I think about black and white is reading stuff in black and white has a different feel, and it sometimes can very much enhance the feel of the story, I think, but also can leave certain things to open interpretation, such as certain things about April. But anyway, a sentry outside spots the Nico spies, and we see that he dies during his outcry. The spies try to flee, but the heroes chase them. One of them sacrifices themselves so the other can get away. And during the commotion, we find that Leonardo disappeared, to only find that Leonardo is in the woods, following the other spy to an abandoned temple, but finds it heavily guarded. So it goes back to tell the others. Meanwhile, the spy reports to the Nico clan leaders, and that Chizo thinks the operation should be abandoned as the losses could be too great. But Gunji is the leader of this operation and prepares for their big attack in the village that night. Cut to the village. We see farmers keeping an eye out for any potential attack. Kakara claims it wasn't magic be used, but just in sympathy with the tides of nature. And that's really all we get as far as explanation goes, as far as how in the world the turtles got here. It was just some very obscure thing. Like I said, they just left it very obscure in saying that it's not magic. Okay, bullcrap, I guess, but sure, whatever you say.
Yeah, they went.
It's not magic.
They went up an elevator and across a moving walkway. Essentially. Yeah. So, but it's not magic at all. It's science, of course.
It's just science we don't understand.
Yes, right.
Isn't that what magic is?
Right, exactly. I mean, so many franchises use that cliche, of course.
Right. But anyway, Michelangelo, we see he loves the place as it's this, the old school Japan, right, with all the animals, and he asks if they have tails, because everybody's anthropomorphic. He's like, wait, do you have a tail? And then Jin's like, don't get personal. At least we wear clothes. Which I thought that was a really funny.
Yeah, and then they start talking about like animals and their world and stuff like that. And
I love that whole page interaction.
Yeah, that was whole page
funny, and Jin just coming back to be like, well, at least we wear clothes. I was like, that's funny. Anyway, Kakara then interrupts their squabbling to alert the heroes that there's a house set on fire on the south side. So the heroes start rushing towards there, wishing Leonardo was there as he's still away from the village. We then learn that the fire is actually a diversion for ninjas attacking the north side. where we then see a big battle with Usagi and Jin fighting different ninjas, a bunch of ninjas. We actually get a bunch of action here at the end of the issue, which is really cool because we got to see, the turtles and Usagi all there together. But we also see back to the south side of the village that the Nico clan is attacking, with Gunji leading the charge, now fighting Kakera. And so we also see a rat in action, because we really haven't seen Splinter in action that much other than like one issue.
Yeah.
So here we get to see another rat in action, where Kakera is quickly getting surrounded and having a hard time. But then Leonardo jumps in, joins the fight, but then gets blinded from ninja dust and gets slashed. And then back on the north side, we see the smoke clears to find the heroes find that all the enemies are gone. The heroes then find Leonardo's injured, with him revealing that they captured Kakera.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So here, we actually get, like, this was our main bit of actually, felt like the turtles actually being here. Leonardo serving a big plot point in this issue, with them leading the charge. Kind of in a weird sense where actually Usagi kind of took a back seat, ride in this issue.
That's how a good crossover works. You have to have both parties getting equal, spotlight.
But this issue in particular, I think of all three of them, definitely showed the biggest highlight of them.
Agreed.
Which is good. But you're right. You don't want to make it be a crossover and then make it feel like that one doesn't matter. And so, but point is that we got turtles up in the forefront in this issue a lot, just there with Usagi and Jin and Kakera, which is all cool. And yeah, I liked it. It was a good issue, as the Shades of Green continues, which I like that name as well for the story arc. But yeah, any specific thoughts that you had on this issue?
Not specific thoughts. I think we covered most of it. Just it was a good mix of action and conversation.
I think I had a very good mix indeed. I think it made for a very good issue, and a very good middle act to their 3-act story here.
Yep.
And so, yeah, definitely good. Good stuff indeed. I did really enjoy reading through it. But let's go get into issue 3 and see what's left. Here, issue 3 begins at the Nico clan base, where you find out the ninjas that was involved in the attack scattered, so they couldn't be tracked back to the base. So only some of the guards remained that were already there, and it is then revealed that 6 of them will be disguised to take Kakera to their province. Gunji thinks he won, calls Shizu his consort, and so we see Shizu just leaving the building temporarily, get mad at Shizu there, getting mad at Gunji there. Cut to the turtles, and we see Usagi and Jin traveling, with Leo hurt and wrapped in these just soaked bandages. More time passes as they've been following Leo as they keep doubled back, at least what Jin claims, a dozen times to the same spot. And then Raph pushes back saying, "Us turtles have an unnerving sense of direction." And then thinks, yeah, Leo's lost it. I thought that was kind of funny.
But then
Jin trips on a tripwire and activates a trap of bamboo darts. What?
No
shortly
way.
after, then realizing that they find the base and start taking out the sentries guarding it. And right before they enter the village, the heroes then get surrounded by a swarm of ninjas. And that's where we then get this huge battle in the issue of the heroes of them busy dealing with the ninjas. Afterwards, the turtles and Jin finds no sign of Kakera, but then they also notice, wait a moment, Usagi's not here. Where did he go? As we see that Usagi ended up finding tracks that led out from their base. Cut to Gunji and Shizu leading a cart with 4 guards pushing it. They find a good resting spot, and then Gunji ends up betraying Shizu, and he and the guards surround Shizu, But then Usagi comes running in, and so Usagi ends up fighting off the guards while Gunji and Shizu has their own duel for the leadership of the Nico clan. And Usagi and Shizu both win their battles, killing their enemies. Like, that's one thing that's, I think, important to say about this too, is like, this story is violent in the same way that the classic Turtle comics were, you know?
Yeah.
And that stood out to me too, which also definitely helped it be a natural crossover at the same time as well. Not only are they all anthropomorphic animal creatures we're talking about, which already helps them, but also the tones of these stories felt very similar to me, you know, which was awesome. And so, and also the fact of this being in black and white was awesome too, I think. And so, but anyway, yeah, they kill their enemies. Chizu then kisses Usagi after realizing that he's the one who helped her before, leaving me kind of curious to actually go back and try to read those other issues sometimes, where those are supposedly not too hard to find. But she then leaves. Usagi then finds Kakera hidden in the cart. Kakera is rescued. We then get a couple little epilogues. First one, we see the turtles saying goodbye to their friends as they then get transported back, you know, through what's totally not magic.
And then the little turtles just appear back.
Yeah, the little turtles appear back. Yeah.
So,
yeah, body swap? Who knows? And then we get another epilogue with Usagi sharing with Jin about what he learned. And then they both part ways, where Jin goes up north for a bounty so he can continue making his living, and Usagi starts traveling east.
The end.
The end for Shades of Green, Usagi, and Turtles crossover story.
Excellent.
So yeah. Yeah, what'd you think of it? They definitely, like I said, they were there very much, I think, personally in the first half, but then the second half, you know, is more about Usagi, as this is a Usagi story.
Yeah, well, and then the ending, the epilogues. It would have been, I think, cool if we got an epilogue written by, like, written for the Turtles as well. Just like a short one, like a 1-page epilogue for the Turtles.
Where they end up, like actually
back in New York and
yeah, it'd be interesting if they ever end up like referencing this one off somewhere, you
exactly.
know, like
so
just
we'll
as like a one-liner.
out.
Yeah, so I'd be interested in that for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out if there's references, if like, yeah. But yeah, no, it was good. Again, it gives me very, very strong TMNT 3 movie from the 90s vibes. Splinter, Kakera swap out for April, and as well as Casey Jones lookalike, but gets kidnapped and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, so many elements that were switched, but then there's other issues and earlier episodes that we've covered that. So that's the vibes I keep getting.
That's
but
interesting. And that's interesting too, because it's not even a TMT story; it's a Usagi story at the end of the day.
And it's it's a crossover, and it's anthropomorphic animals rather than in the movie it's people, you know. So
yeah. It does make me wonder if that serves as an inspiration for that movie. So we'll have to do some research and look.
Yes.
But yeah. I definitely agree. It's a very fun story arc. I definitely really enjoyed it. I know, for me personally, it makes me want to read more Usagi, as I thought he was a cool character, and I'm definitely interested in learning more, not just of his character, but of his world. What about you? Is that something that you'd ever consider reading more?
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued if Kakera is a character that's been in earlier stuff, or if they chose a anthropomorphic rat for this crossover.
Yeah, I mean, he reads like a new character to me that could very easily come back, but I'm not sure. But yeah, Usagi's gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
There's still even new Usagi stuff. Like, I think right now we're in an age where we're getting space Usagi stuff. So
now I wonder if there is an interesting transition from non-space to space.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
All of a sudden, he was in space.
Another recent thing, Usagi, I don't know if it's just a one-shot or if it's a miniseries or what, but something I got on sale at my comic book store on Free Comic Book Day. go support your local comic stores. It was a Usagi and Power Rangers crossover. So I haven't read it yet, but as I said, this is the first thing that I've read with Usagi in it, at least forefront as a character. So
yeah, no, it was just really, really fun.
yeah, I agree. It was definitely a really fun story. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out more Usagi stuff, which is very cool.
And if you know how to find those Leonardo Usagi shorts, let us know.
I was about to say, if there's ever a way,
if there's a way, let us know.
From what I was finding, I was like, I don't see them anywhere, but if anybody ever sees anything, that'd be absolutely awesome. Before we leave, though, I did actually have a few other questions that I want to ask you about this, as for whatever reason, reading the story just kind of made me think of these things. One of them first being, since it's the first ever Turtles crossover, do you think that the Turtles remain true to their characters throughout all this? We didn't really get to see much of Donatello highlighting this, but I feel like Raphael, Michelangelo, and Leonardo all got their own little character bits in this.
Yeah, I feel like it was weird because Mikey, I feel like they gave what I thought would be more like Donnie's Geek Out.
So I actually felt like that was kind of more in line with Mikey myself when I read it. I didn't think it was necessarily Donnie, but I thought it was Mikey because we know with the which one was it? One of the issues we read, not like a couple episodes ago, with Mikey's story that he did, and he has that big imagination.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was it for me, of where it kind of clicked a little better with
got you
Mikey than it being
for me. It was more like the historical academic kind of thinking, and that's why I looked at it
I
more
could
like
see it that way, but when we're talking about a world with anthropomorphic animals, I was like, okay,
that true. But yeah, the feudal Japan stuff though for me is more so. Maybe it was a mix, and again, like you said, they didn't really do anything for Donatello.
No.
Donnie, they did the thing they did with Donnie was that he was going to be the one to keep an eye on Leo.
Yeah, which I mean, that's a Donnie thing to do, absolutely.
Yeah, which I guess is a Donnie thing to do.
But it definitely wasn't like a, like you didn't really have a thing that he say that stood out.
Yeah, like it would have been interesting. Sense. Maybe he had pulled out a piece of technology or something and been like, "What the hell is that?" or something like that.
We got a couple little blurbs from Raphael that stood out. We got first when they first come in the area. Of course, they immediately accuses the Foot Clan.
Yep.
That's so much a Raphael thing, but then also the little bit which I thought was pretty funny when they were going through, and it was like, I think that's Michelangelo.
That was Mikey asking about the tail.
But Raphael is the one who, where Jin's like, Raphael's the one where responding to Jin, he was like, us turtles have an unnerving.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, yeah, Leo's lost it, and so I thought that was funny. But then, of course, too, like you said, the biggest plot point with it as well is that, we got Leo on his own adventure, which would makes, that very much lines up with what we saw Leo from his own adventure, right? And going off on his own to do something like that. And so that definitely lines up with that earlier characteristics of Leo kind of going out a bit. So, and it makes sense, too, with him being the, how we view him as kind of like the leader, that he'd do that sort of a thing as well, I guess. So, but yeah, I definitely think they stayed with those characters. This is a very general Turtles question as well, but it made me think of it because of it being, I think we can both agree, the most outlandish setting. Well, I don't know if this or the space setting's more outlandish, but now that we have experienced both of them being in a futuristic setting and a past setting, are you a fan of seeing these turtles beyond what you just think of in the normal earthen sort of towns, cities, and whatnot?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, having seen a little bit of it on screen through some of the cartoons,
little bit, but it's not how people typically think of turtles.
They've got like Dimension X and stuff like that. Really, is all they've really done on screen.
But the point is these comics have a very different feel of the turtles in certain story. In a bunch of these stories and what we're used to.
Yes.
And this.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing, I think, too, is that it's still very interesting to see how different we're seeing these turtles compared to what we
Yeah.
were used to seeing them on
Yeah.
screen.
And it's very interesting too, because when we get to talk about the movies and the animated series, as they would have already developed some of the animated series by now,
Mhm.
I really want to
Some of the
go back,
movies would have been. When was
possibly
this?
as well.
What year was
This
this?
was in '87. I don't
Okay,
know
so
about
no,
where,
just the cartoon and just
but,
season 1 of the cartoon, I
but
think.
I don't know about where we left off with the mainline turtle stuff.
That
but-
I feel like is more
we'd have to
late
look at
80s,
dates
early-
there.
yeah,
but
we have to look. But
there
either
was
way,
but there
this
was
one is
comments that
87.
Eastman said in the back of some of those about them developing the series at certain points. And whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look at it. But anyway, but yeah. And then the last thing, just a fun little question, especially since we're recording this, a Steam Summer Sale just started. Does this make you want to play Shredder's Revenge even more now that you know that Usagi is a playable character in it, and now that you see their main, I would say this is probably their main story together. I know they've come back for at least one other story, maybe two other stories together. But yeah, the question remains though: does this make you wanna get back
not
to it?
particularly. What I would like to see is Usagi in other games, maybe, or his own game.
See what happens. It's
You
kind of harder
know?
for a bunch of these independent characters to get stuff like that.
Exactly.
But, all right.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's all I have. Any other final notes on Usagi and the Turtles?
No, it's just
Good crossover. So
yeah, good
Enough to
crossover. It'd be interesting to see what other crossovers we come across.
yeah,
Cross.
yeah. There's a lot.
Saying the word cross a lot.
There's a bunch of Turtles on crossovers in general.
Mhm.
As I know, one of the older ones. I don't know exactly when they cross over with Flaming Carrot, which made a reference in one of those earlier issues, I think, as well.
Mhm.
And so that was cool. But yeah, absolutely. But yeah, without further ado, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed for more comic content here on the Dingus Den. We'll be back for more Turtle comic stuff as we are continuing our journey, talking about just, comics with the turtles in them, and so obviously this is a bit of a different one as we talked about Usagi instead of a Turtles-based story, but definitely turtles involved, so worthy for us to talk about. So, without further ado, see you all next time here in the Dingus Den. Bye.
Cowabunga.